Hey, welcome back to AFTV. Welcome to another live show. I'm here with I said another, slightly different. We're moving on to a new phase of the live shows. Ben, how you doing?
Yeah, it could be better, but still top of the league, and
Yeah.
5 wins out of 6, it is what it is.
I'm seeing the comments already. Let's address this straight away. We'd been planning changes in the lives. Obviously, now with the transfer window done, we wanted to be able to focus more on what our other teams are doing. And obviously, a lot of the discussion at the moment is around VAR, the implementation of it, and all that. I have more than done my speaking on it. In terms of the Arsenal game, this is not going to be. Listen, what happened in the Arsenal game is more evidence, in my opinion, of where. There's confusion, there's a misunderstanding in the way it's used and interpretation and all that stuff. But we're going to talk about this because what we saw in the West Ham Chelsea game, what we saw in the Newcastle Palace game, the Van Dijk tackle as well in the Everton match. There are so many examples from just this weekend alone of VAR causing lots of problems. It is something the Premier League have now asked PGMOL to review. So we're going to just discuss a little bit, not really the ins and outs, because I'm going to be honest, I don't have a clue. I don't think anyone really has a clue what's going on, because what can the PGMOL say? Oh yeah, we'll try and be better, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I think what we want to try to do is provide our solutions, talk about how it can improve. This is not, as people are saying, stop crying. We're not here to cry about what happened yesterday. I've done my crying yesterday on full time, and I did it on Tactical Insight. I think it's about time we provide some solutions to this situation.
Yeah, I think confusion is probably the right word, because, I've talked to you about it, and I don't think it was the right decision based off of the rules today. But my problem with the decision is that football's gone so soft that, that is the same foul as, and other examples can be given where it's not given, and other examples where a tougher foul isn't given as a foul. It's just the confusion around it regarding the Arsenal game. Mm-hmm. But when you look at the Chelsea game and you look at Newcastle Crystal Palace, for example, those decisions are the ones that have been reviewed, and they've come out and said they were mistakes. Mm-hmm. This is what we need to be seeing, a bit more accountability about these decisions, because in years gone past, since VAR has been introduced, wrong decisions. No one ever steps in and says, hold on, who's reviewing this? Who's looking back at these and justifying them? Not Peter Walton on BT or whoever they got on Sky Sports. What governing body is over these referees to hold them accountable to some of the nonsense they're producing week in, week out? Now, I'm going to reiterate, I don't, class the Arsenal disallowed goal as a wrong decision, but I'm confused as to the state of the sport. It's very soft now. If that's given, then 10 out of 10 you're going to get at least one of those every single game before a goal or before an assist or whatever it is.
Yeah, I want to have a really genuine good conversation about this, because we do things with our Arsenal hat on and we react to the game and we get into the emotion of it. And in Tactical Insight, I really wanted to put forward some of Mike Riley's quotes and discuss that today. But I want to have a real conversation around this in terms of what you wanted from VAR, what I wanted from VAR, what you guys in the comment section wanted, how it can be better, how we can help referees. Because ultimately, for everything we're saying, referees aren't intentionally getting it wrong, right? They need help as well. They will not be happy with how this is going either. They will be sitting there going, why were you encouraging me to go to the monitor here? Or why are we necessarily refereeing it in this way? Not one referee has the final say on everything. It's a collection of maybe the way they want to interpret it, the club sign off on certain things. So there's lots of people involved, which is why I want to have a proper discussion around this, which is also why anyone in the comment section saying crime or excuses FC, blah, 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 you're getting ignored. And if it's relentless and you're ruining the conversation in the chat, then we'll actually just block you from the chat, because we want to have a genuine conversation about it. And yeah, we ain't got time
United
for
won
trolls.
the league yesterday, though.
Okay, here we go. There's me saying I don't want trolls.
They won the league yesterday, no?
Stop it.
That's what I thought. I don't know the amount of messages and calls I've been receiving in the last 12 hours or so. I thought something happened, but
I just said I didn't want trolls, and you go, United won the league.
Listen, they won it, we can give it.
There's no point. I give up. Okay. Look, let's talk about it. So first and foremost, I can't believe it. First and foremost, when VAR was being talked about, what in your mind was it, and what did you want it to be?
Assistance for the referees. Clear and obvious, I think, makes sense. I think when you, aside from the decisions we're going to talk about, when you look at, let's say, the offsides over the years and using the finest of margins to rule out quality goals, just doesn't make sense. And then another example from this weekend, the linesman putting up his flag for Coutinho, who wasn't offside in the end. Play gets stopped, he bangs it top corner, and another completely legitimate goal ruled out.
Brilliant goal.
Yeah, so I just think
McAllister.
Yeah. So I just think that they need. There isn't a structure in place. It's like who makes the final decision? Who makes the final decision? Because, for example, that Coutinho, and the final decision was made by the linesman, and then the referee blows, and then just because he's blown and the ball goes in, they can't, give that goal, even though they can look back at it at the time. With VAR, when referees go up to the screen, obviously the people that first said, let's review it, have reviewed it, said, actually, we don't know, can you go and check it? Well, why did you review it in the first place if you're not going to come to a conclusion on it? Why did you perk up and say we need to review that if you don't have a definitive answer for it? Why have you said it and then given the referee another opportunity to go watch it in slow-mo from certain angles? For me, it's just too much. I think they could have implemented it a lot easier, and what they've done is they've gone all in with it. All in. Now, every time, even when you see me on the watch-alongs and whatnot, anytime we score, I'm just like, let me see what VAR are saying. I did it again. Yeah, I celebrated because Martinelli's finish was a beautiful finish. It was against the runner play, and we was under pressure for 15-20 minutes. So it was a bit of a relief. But then as soon as that brief celebration was over, I was like, let me see what VAR are going to say about this. And lo and behold, they take it away.
When VAR was first being talked about, did they have it at the 2014 World Cup?
What, at the trial one?
Let me know in the comments section. Was it as soon as the 2014 or was it just 2018? I remember one of the World Cups. I think it was 18.
I think it was 18.
And then they had it in Europe for maybe like 17, 18,
14
19.
is a bit, it was
14 feels a long time ago.
But people say, 2014. I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, I remember it actually being a talking point, what a success it was at that World Cup. People really felt it without slowing the game down, it aided the referees. And the thing is, we've now had so many years of it in the Premier League that I'm forgetting quite how they did it. But I think the way it worked was that... I'm going to need you guys in the comment section to help me. No, I'm forgetting. But basically, in the Premier League, a decision is made, and if they feel it needs to be overturned, unless it's offside, where they've got the technology, they will send the referee to go have a look. And it didn't work like that. I'm pretty sure it was a case of if the ref wanted to have another look, he could, but otherwise he stuck with what he felt, unless someone was in his ear going, you've really missed something. Something along those lines. The point is, I remember it working almost seamlessly. That's not to say they didn't get everything perfect. It's not to say that everything was perfect, but I remember it not really being a point of controversy. If there were any examples, you let me know in the comment section. So when it came into our game, we wanted to do it our way for some reason. I felt like there was this arrogance of, yeah, cool, thanks for the technology, but we can kind of deploy it our own way.
They wanted to perfect it, but that route to perfection has caused a mess.
Yeah, and so what they did was, essentially they brought in Stockley Park, which is this centre, the VAR
It's probably
HQ.
In the metaverse, the way we always hear about this thing, but where is it? Where is this place?
In the metaverse. It's this HQ where there are people there on the TVs. We've seen them sometimes, sort of in some shed, just sort of doing some office, basically watching from all these different angles. And we're seeing Premier League refs having to basically wait because something's being reviewed before then being told to actually go have a look at it. Then when they go have a look at it, what's happened is they have been told in their ears, and I think Jamie Carragher might have confirmed this on the overlap, I believe. I might be wrong. But I think he said that at that point they're told, we think you've got this wrong. Not have a look again. Mm-hmm. It's, no, we think you've got this wrong. We think it's this. So you're already going with an idea of, okay, this is what they're saying. So it's very hard to then turn against however many people are in your ear telling, maybe just the one, maybe a team of people I don't know, who are telling you what you should be doing. When you, despite everything we've said and angles and all that, often have the best view because you're on the pitch, you're there, you remember the impact, you remember the circumstance a little bit more. So we've implemented it a little bit differently. And over the last few years, again, I can't remember much controversy in the Champions League with it. They've had it there.
Yeah.
I think they do it slightly differently, but that's never really been an issue. So it's become now such a massive talking point. And notice I'm not really talking about the Odegaard thing too much, because I'm with you. I can see why that was given, though there's inconsistency, and I've had my moaning about that. But when I look at the Jared Bowen one with West Ham, when I look at the Joe Willock one, when I look at Van Dijk sort of getting away, when I look at Mings and on Saka not being pulled, when I look at all these different things, I just think there is such a... This isn't even just inconsistency. This is... You're really, really missing things. I don't really know why the technology exists anymore when we seem to be making just as many errors.
I think partly, listen, a lot of the referees are just wimps. They don't want to stand by a decision they've made or aggravate maybe a fan base. And what it is, like, I look at, let's say, do you know Pierluigi Collina?
Yeah, the Italian, right?
Yeah, so when growing up, he was the ref of all refs. And one thing about him, he was very stern. He'd make and obviously VAR is not about, so obviously you make a decision and you stick by it. But I feel like that's the sort of person you need, someone that's confident enough. And now with VAR, it just seems like these referees rely too much upon VAR. So if they second guess themselves, it's straight to VAR.
I don't think they want to, you know. I don't think they want to be using...
It's more pressure on them to perfect it. But I just look at most businesses and most walks of life, like, where is their perfection? You know, mistakes mold people as well. Mistakes you learn from. At this moment in time, listen, referees have made mistakes for years before VAR, but you put that down to human error, and you understand human error. We're humans, we make mistakes, you know. But when you bring in technology, you stop games maybe 3-4 times a game for 2 to 5 minutes a game, whatever the decision may be. You've changed what football is without bringing the benefit that we thought we're getting from VAR, which is eliminating human error. We're probably getting more human error now.
We're definitely getting more frustrating human error.
Yeah,
like we're more angry because we're now like, you can't surely be getting this wrong.
Yeah, and the refs, listen, I said last year, I think an ex-player needs to be in this metaverse, Stockley Park, wherever it is. I think it can't just be someone that you hired as a ref, because that person needs to know what it's like to play football in a high intensity physical environment. If they don't know, then a foul to them could be nothing to a Roy Keane.
Sure.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So there needs to be a balance to the decision making. You just bring people that don't play football, but they're educated in I don't know, do you get a degree for being I don't know what you need to be a referee.
You go through training, you go through officiating, referee training, yeah.
But if they don't play football and they haven't been in that environment, then they don't really know what warrants a foul. They just think, oh, if he touched his elbow, that's a foul, because they're slowing down the footage, they're over-analysing it. But the reality is, that's not a foul. The Mendy Bowen one, for example, it's his trailing leg. If you ask someone that doesn't give a shit about football, would you give this as a foul? They'd probably say yeah, because it's like, oh, when his foot touched his, yeah, that's a foul. But to someone that's played football, come on, that's nowhere near a foul. It's probably more a yellow card to Mendy for play acting than it is a foul the other way and a disallowed goal.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. So I think they've been trying to bring things in to ensure that VAR isn't so important. So, for example, the clear and obvious thing. You know, it's got to be a clear and obvious foul, otherwise we won't get involved. But the thing is, when you see some of the decisions they get involved in, it feels like they're turning their back on that because they think, yeah, but this is a foul, so we can't not give it.
Yeah.
So they're already kind of contradicting their own logic, which I can actually understand why, but it's infuriating for fans. It's absolutely infuriating. There are a couple of things they have introduced that I do like, controversially, by the way. You know, the offside with the tight lines and everything? I'm going to be honest, I don't have a massive problem with that. I know it's not an exact science and there should be a little bit more leniency. Maybe they should make the striker's line a bit thicker and all that, because, you know, how do you know if did the ball leave the foot there? Or is it just a bit wet? Like, you know,
yeah.
Like, it's not an exact science and it's not perfect.
Look at Isak against Liverpool. That one, for example.
What I quite like, and they should change a couple things. Like, for example, I think they should measure foot to foot. You know, so what? Now we're gonna penalise someone for having a lower centre of gravity. That means your shoulders are a bit wider. So we're foot to foot, just where you're starting from to keep it very, very simple. That's what I think they should be doing. But other than that, I quite like the lines thing, because at least more often than not, you can't argue. There are some, but more often than not, I'm like, you know what, even if it's slightly off, it's off, and it's not what we brought offside in for, but at least it's semi-accurate.
Yeah, but then I'd look at the line thing and I'd say, with all the technology in the world and the money in the league now, why can't you have a camera not following the game, but following the last man from the touchline?
Lasers?
Laser, let's say, because now, the problem is now when you get an image from VAR for these offsides, the camera's coming from an angle, so the image is then like that. Then their lines have to be put in an angle, so that's where that's where a lot of the controversy around lines comes from as well. The angles, and if you have a camera just straight down on the last defender at all times of the game, and an offside decision comes, you have that straight, and then there is less argument to it. I just think as much as they've tried to perfect it, they haven't really done. Yeah, it's hard.
I don't know how much money and technology and all that it would take to sort of get VAR to a point where tech is like running it completely.
If anyone's got the money, they do.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of money in the air. What if this honestly just popped into my head now, so if it sounds like an absolutely horrendous idea, please don't kill me too much. What if the pitch was separated into segments? We're talking each segment is like that big, right? Like whatever. Like you're talking whatever it is. And they're kind of drawn across a pitch, and you're only offside if your foot is in the next segment beyond, like at least that way.
What, in terms of where the grass is cut, or?
I don't know. I guess
that's what I use now. Sometimes I call the VAR before the VAR, because I look at the grass and the way it's cut, and then I kind of work it out from there. So maybe,
I guess what I'm trying to say is, what if we made the margin for error bigger? So even if your foot is ahead of the foot there, like by today's standard, you're offside. But if there was it's got to be, I don't know. Like, Wenger proposed. Was it Wenger? He proposed the gap between people. So he said that if me and you're in line, but I'm overweight all the way here, we're onside. But the minute I'm trying to shuffle myself forward, the minute there's a gap, then I'm offside. I don't know. I mean, listen. Again, we're not saying none of this is easy. We know none of this is easy, but we also know.
But if you can't do it, don't do it, because it's not easy. You're right. But
James, that's a terrible idea.
As well as it not being easy, it's evident that you haven't done it right. So make a decision now. Don't just sit back and accept it all now. You can see fans are frustrated. You can see clubs at times are complaining about it. The Premier League can't just sit back. That's the most frustrating thing about it. You brought it in to improve the game. At this moment in time, it hasn't improved the game. So what are you going to do about it? Either you challenge the referees more and you hold them more accountable and you keep them on their toes a bit more to be making the right decisions and understand football a bit better, or you scrap it.
Are you in favour of scrapping it?
100%, because this conversation pisses me off. You doing foot and doing all of this. I just want to fucking watch football. Do you know what I'm saying? When you did that, and it's not you, that pissed me off, because I'm here thinking, oh, I'm here to talk football, and but here we are talking about gaps and feet, and just you're shuffling forward and saying a gap, and to me it's just like, fuck me, man. I just want to win games and challenge for leagues, and here we are. And it's not, and people in the comment, it's not just the Arsenal game. In fact, it's not the Arsenal game we're talking about. This conversation comes from the other decisions.
We've all sat, we've both, this is right, well, you miserable people in the comments who are telling us to stop crying. And I know that, as I said, I'll hold it. We did do our fair bit of crying yesterday. I wasn't happy with some things. I was disappointed about the result, but this isn't about that, because I'm with you. I can see why the Odegaard one was given. I said that at the time. My only issue with that is consistency. We're talking about something completely different, which is the complete implementation of VAR across the game, when it's used, how it's used, if it's ruining all that, and that is more evidenced in the Newcastle game, the West Ham Chelsea game, those games where goals that they really should have stood. The Odegaard one, I can see why it's disallowed, though it's inconsistent. But those, I'm like, there's nothing in my mind can explain to me why that Mitchell own goal and that corner goal is disallowed.
Yeah.
And there is such I'd rather talk about it now. Okay, there's the example yesterday with Odegaard, but I'd rather talk about it now, because one day there will be a really bad one on Arsenal. Do you remember the red card for David Luiz? The knee on the, you know, and you talk, well, by the
penalty
letter,
and red card.
by the letter of the law. It's like, we cannot live in a world. Yes, I know I went back 2 years. We cannot live in a world where, you know, this can exist in the game. It really ruins it for people, and it ruined it for West Ham the other day, and it ruined it for Newcastle.
God forbid that sort of we've had poor decisions, but you see that Bowen one and that Mitchell one, if that happens against Arsenal in the last minute or stops us, I'm going to be fuming. Yeah,
you lose your head.
Because I can't believe a professional has gone to watch that Mitchell pushing my man into Guaita, scoring an own goal, going to watch it and giving a free kick to it's mad.
The bloke's pushed him, nodded it in the back of the net and gone, listen, mate.
And he's even upset because he knows he fucked up. But nah, VAR come to the rescue. No, it's not a goal, mate. Don't worry about it.
So this brings in my idea, and I've said this before on this show, and I'm going to bore everyone with it again. Challenge system. I absolutely believe a challenge system fixes so many problems.
Where do they do that in like hockey or something? They do that in some sport. Tennis, okay.
So in tennis, they challenge any ball that goes out. Now the beauty of that is lasers and or cameras or whatever it might be. It's not lasers, whatever it is. They are very good. They can pick out so accurately whether a ball's clipped to line or not. I think over the years it's had its errors, but generally it's a science. It's pretty accurate. Now, with the challenge system, for me, I've always said if you give Premier League sides 2 challenges per game. Now, that challenge could be for absolutely anything they want. It could be they think they've been fouled and it's a penalty. It can be they've conceded a goal, they think there's an offside, they think there's a handball in the build-up, whatever. They can challenge that, and if they get the decision right, they maintain their challenge, the decision goes their way, and it allows VAR to therefore re-referee that decision. So you can say to the ref on field, forget everything you just went with, have a little look at it now and see if you're happy with your decision. And then maybe you can discuss it with... What we've got too much now is the VAR, is the ref conflicted with what he gave on the pitch, then conflicted with what the VAR are telling him, and the fact that they're maybe reviewing things that nobody on the pitch had a problem with. The best example... A good example is that McAllister goal yesterday. Yeah, he's offside, but he comes back for the bicycle kick, but the guy heads it away. McAllister, what a goal, ruled out. No one protested, because while in the letter of the law and the rules of the game, he was probably offside and then he probably interfered, blah blah blah. It clearly wasn't enough to put anyone off, and what we've done is deny a great goal. It's not in this. For me, it's not. This is where you use things like spirit of the game. Like the offside was brought in to stop goal hanging, not to deny goals. Yeah. And that's where I get really frustrated, because the rule hasn't done its job there.
Do you know what it is? I agree with the concept of a challenge system. I just think that the problem will still be there. For example, you think you have a goal conceded. You think there's been a foul beforehand. You make a challenge, and to us football fans that are used to playing football and understand a bit of contact, to us it's not a foul. To the referee who doesn't understand, he's book smart in refereeing, to him it is a foul. And even though the challenge system is in place and you feel justified in making that challenge, the referee still denies it. And it's like, it comes back down to that decision and human error. And I understand human error when it is human error, but when a human's looking at a fucking screen from multiple angles and still coming out with the wrong decition.
Yeah, what you're saying is it doesn't matter, because they still got to make the decision. So however you implement it.
Yeah, and let's say there's 3 big fuck-ups in the game.
Well, okay, so essentially what happens is, if a team challenges and the decision doesn't go their way, they lose a challenge. That's how it happens in tennis. So essentially, you can't just complain for anything. It also challenges teams to be smarter when they're using it. So if a player thinks he's been fouled, but actually he's dived, like Jamie Vardy against Leicester.
But then there's some incidents where... Who's, like, from Arsenal's side, who's in charge of watching the play around the play? Because sometimes there's a foul elsewhere. Someone might be running through and goal, but there's a foul elsewhere that stops a defender from cutting that person off, that you might not see, Mikel, or you might not see on the bench, because you're focused on the play. And then you don't challenge, but then all fans are at home saying, challenge, what's going on?
Sure, but I think in that situation, if a player's fouled, he goes to his captain. He says, trust me on this. And then a challenge. So I think the way it should work, 2 challenges each. The captain makes the challenge, and within 1 minute of the incident happening, you're allowed to go and protest. So it almost incentivizes players to be honest. Because Jamie Vardy in that Ramsdale one, let's say it's challenged, that's a situation where the players, let's say it's not given, and he's gone down, and the pen's not given. That, who's the captain? Probably is Jamie Vardy. But that incentivizes him to be like, did you dive, mate? Because, you know, we're going to have a look at this back.
But right now, they're incentivizing them to dive. And
exactly. To force them into a decision that they might not overturn. Yeah. Because, well, it's not clear and obvious. But
I go back to Pepe's red card against Burnley.
Yeah, Leeds.
That was given as a headbutt.
Yeah.
Fuck me, that person who gave that as a headbutt should be sacked. Because that was so far from a headbutt. Anyone that's seen a headbutt in their life or been on the receiving end or the giving end of a headbutt, that Pepe move towards Alioski was not a headbutt. But then some fool watches the screen and says, oh my God, ref, red card. And it's like, what's going on here? What's going on? I'm telling you, you might need more play. Probably more. I'm in favour of players analysing it over the expert referees.
Iman says James wants to slow the game down even more. No, Iman, this is the beauty of it. This is the beauty of it. It wouldn't slow it down. What we've got now is officials reviewing everything in case. What you have with challenges is 4, and you know, they're not going to get all of them right, but minimum or a potential 4, around 4, maybe 3, maybe 5 decisions that are looked at because a team has requested it, and the referee goes straight to the mod to have a look. None of this, let's send it over there. That's their thoughts. Okay, now let's send it over here. Can you have a look, please? It would trust me, it wouldn't be any slower than what we have now. Mm-hmm. This is slow. Like that McAllister goal, no player would have challenged for it. They'd have been like, oh.
They didn't.
They did. No one did anything. They were like, oh, we conceded. And I've got the best example for you ever. And this was the day I had the VAR decision. And I know you're going to think I'm a crying Arsenal fan, which I absolutely am, but that's not the point. Man City, Tottenham. Summer 2019, I want to say, they drew 2-2. Do you remember? I think it was Jesus. Do you remember he curled one into the far corner in the very last minute, and then it was given as a handball on Laporte because it kind of scuffed his hand.
I remember something like that.
And at that point, the rule was if it touches the arm on the process of it being a goal, we're going to rule it out. But what we saw there was a goal being disallowed where no Spurs player challenged it. And you know why they didn't, as in challenged it, as in protested?
Yeah.
And you know why they didn't protest? Because the contact wasn't big enough or important enough or crucial enough for it to have had any impact on the game. If he pulled his arm out and then it bounced towards Jesus, they all would have been screaming for it. Mm-hmm. So in that very moment, you'd have come to the right decision because no Tottenham player would have protested. And I would say, if someone did spot that it hit his arm and called it, fair play, good vision, fine, ruled out. Like, this is what I'm saying. That would have been a really good example where we were looking for something, we found it, we disallowed it, and Tottenham are thinking, oh, great.
Let me ask you,
by the way, it's happened to everyone.
Let me ask you something. Let's take that example. Let's use any of the examples we've used, yeah? You as a person, if you was involved in one of those moments where a goal's gone, let's say you was, let's say you was Martinelli yesterday, you scored the first goal of the game. Would you want an expert referee that's trained reviewing that decision, or would you want an ex-player reviewing that decision?
I'd want an ex-player, but obviously the whole bias thing comes into it. Who do they play for and all that? But yeah, I'd want an ex-player.
But I think you can work around that.
Well, you think so? There's so many people in the world.
100%. Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I think it's not getting better, is it? Because we're 6 game weeks into this season, and we can probably pick out 10 very good examples as to why it's not working in the first 6 game weeks. Yeah, that's a high number of.
I feel sorry for West Ham fans with that result. I feel sorry for Chelsea fans from that Tottenham game with the hair pull. I feel sorry but there's been loads. Tottenham have had plenty go against them. I've seen loads and loads. The Coutinho one, yeah, and I appreciate there could be mistakes. You see, do you know the rule I do like? The one where they keep the flag down and let play go on, see if something happens. I'm like, yeah, I quite like that. That's cool, because see what happens, and then if it's offside, at least you can rule it out.
But my problem with that now, is, all right, the linesman thinks it's offside, but he lets it go on. So the ball's gone down the right, and Jesus, let's say Saka, the linesman thinks he's just offside, but he's not. But the linesman thinks he's just offside. Saka gets it, tries to dribble around someone, the defender gets a toe poke on it, Saka's still got the ball, the linesman then puts his flag up, but Saka's about to deliver a ball into the box. Right. Now, you go back, it's not offside. So then they've stopped a moment in play for a wrong decision, when the next step could have been a goal for us or a chance for us. So that's why even that, I kind of get it, you know, let play go on, but it's all down to, again, human error. And I just think if that is the case for it, they might as well not put their flags up at all. They might as well just bin linesmen. They might as well. Because offsides go to VAR, and that moment that you're talking about can actually stop a legitimate move. The Coutinho one is a prime example of that. Prime example. He thought he was offside, raised his flag, the referee believed it and whistled, and then it stopped a completely legitimate goal. Instead, the linesman could have shut his mouth, kept his flag down, let the play run out. If it goes in, then VAR can review it and make the final decision on it. So I think linesmen don't need to be part of the game anymore if we're keeping with VAR. I do, because what are they there for? What decision do the linesmen themselves make without the assistance of VAR? What, throw-ins?
Yeah.
Or if they've given offside, VAR won't review that and say, no, that was wrong, and give the ball back to us.
I guess it's to call them just to see if they're... I think they're trigger points, aren't they? We think this is offside, and yeah, they call the throws if the ball goes out and all that. I mean, no, I still think there's room for linesmen in the game, but it's really difficult. I'm going to ask you.
Linesmen call fouls. That's fair enough. Fair enough. For the fouls that the referees can't see in and around that area, I understand that. But even then, how many times do you see fouls in and around that area and linesmen looking at the referee for a decision because they're too cowardly to make that decision? But you are right, for that alone, cool. But at the end of the day, linesmen need to maybe not play a part in the offside, because their thoughts can stop a completely legitimate goal.
We're half an hour into the show. Let me just explain where a lot of this has come from. Yes, of course, what happened in the Arsenal game is a talking point. We've not touched on that today. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about everything across the weekend and in the opening 6 game weeks of the season. Let me just read what this says on Sky Sports, that the referee's body, PGMOL, has acknowledged the VAR incidents at Chelsea and Newcastle on Saturday as mistakes after the Premier League asked the officiating board to investigate them. So for all you, you're crying again, blah, 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 the big Premier League have asked for these to be looked at. Now, since then, let's have a little look. Saturday's Premier League action was marred by a series of decisions. Let's have a little look. After the Premier League called for an investigation into the circumstances around key decisions at Stamford Bridge and St James's Park. Sky Sports News understands that the PGMOL believes errors were made in the incidents that deny West Ham and Newcastle goals. Then they explained the goals. Declan Rice called it one of the worst VAR decisions since it came into the game. Over the weekend, I have seen Alan Shearer, Nigel de Jong, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. People help me out with other players. Michael Owen. I've seen Roy Keane, countless people come out, big names in the game, and have had something to say about VAR. So this is not a conversation we could ignore. Whether you guys want to laugh at us and all that, fine. But this is not a conversation we could ignore. It's very... what's the word? It's at the forefront of people's minds in the game at the moment.
And it's not an Arsenal problem, it's a Premier League problem.
And I'll go as far as to say Arsenal have probably been one of the teams that have suffered less for it this season. So far, yeah. I don't think, the Mings one, okay, but I guess clear and obvious error. Like with a lot of the Arsenal ones, I don't agree but can understand. Whereas we've seen some that I just think are absolutely like mind-blowing. I just can't believe the decisions they've come to. So that's why we're talking about it. We're going to talk about some other stuff as well, but let's just very quickly discuss solution, and if we have a solution that we just off the top of our tongue would want to just put forward. For me, it's the challenge system. That is the one that I really think... I acknowledge it could make it worse. It could. I mean, I'm sure that it's not perfect, and someone would do the data and the research and explain to me why I wouldn't. But I just really believe it would solve so many problems. Yeah, if they implemented it right, but it won't eliminate the problems. It will cut them for me. It could potentially cut them. It could potentially create more. I say give Roy Keane the job. Give Roy Keane the job. Give Roy Keane Stockley Park and say, listen, you're the man for this. You determine where we would have got away with that goal yesterday if it was Roy Keane in charge of it. I'll tell you that. To be fair, yeah, even being a Man United man, he might have thought.
No, with all due respect, the solution for me is scrap it, because you guys are not going to get it right. You're too hard-headed. You think we're all perfect, and you think our shit doesn't stink over here in the Premier League. It does. It stinks a lot, yeah. But they don't want to admit that. You know what? It's quite surprising that finally they've come out to review a couple of decisions. Maybe that is the start of...
Who did they apologise last to? Was it Everton? The Rodri handball. I think they apologised. You remember?
Yeah, and there was the Sheffield United goal score after COVID. Do you remember? It went in, but goal line, the ref's watch wasn't working. Yeah. And then didn't they get relegated that season?
Yeah, I think they did.
So, you know, there's a lot
No, sorry. It kept Villa up.
Okay, that's something happened.
Yeah. It kept Villa up. Yeah, otherwise they'd have lost that game. Yeah.
So I just think scrap it. If you lot are too, hard-headed to admit that there's flaws to this and you need to fix it, then scrap it.
I do like goal line technology. That's
worked.
That's been awesome.
That's worked because they can justify it. It's been right every time, but that time.
Yeah, but that
time.
It was off.
The watch was off or whatever was going. That's up to the ref to check that the watch is working.
The batteries
before the half start. So
I think they'd have tested everything. You know, when that happened and everyone was in uproar, I was like, tech goes wrong sometimes. Like, I know it's bad, but like no one meant for that to happen. For me, it's when you've got all the cameras and everything in the world to point you to the right direction, and then you get it wrong. It's like, what can the ref do? We can't. Well, should be buzzing. So, but anyway.
But my thing is, why didn't they go to VAR if your watch wasn't working?
Because I just don't think that was protocol. You see how they do so much with protocol. What the rules are. Well, there's a bit of this.
That's wimps. Yeah, that's why I say wimps, because everything is by the book.
They want to be consistent. They want to be consistent. So they're trying to follow a rule book. So they're trying to be consistent, but actually it's leading to inconsistency that's angering people more. Shref says it's the most watched league in the world and refs need help. For fuck's sake, James, put a camera and mic so we can hear what the refs see and say. Happens in rugby, hockey, so many fouls by Scott, but first yellow was Saliba.
I'd love that, but it pissed me off more when I'm hearing them talking about a decision that's gone against us.
I think, you remember how we said all or nothing humanised a lot of the people? I feel like it would humanise refs and they would benefit from it. I think refs don't want to be heard. They want to just sort of do their job and move on. But I think it helps them if we can hear the logic they're coming to. And yes, we might still disagree, but at least there's like, oh, I hadn't considered that, or all right, I get what you're saying, but then that's inconsistent with this guy. So who's right, who's wrong? At the moment, it's too personal, and this is why, Shress saying they need help, for fuck's sake, James. But they do. They're watching 22 men on a pitch. There's a lot going on. Like, it's not the easiest thing in the world. They've got VAR, they've got technology. And listen, I know they make mistakes, but when I say help, I mean making it easier for them. I think we're implementing too many. Listen, there has been incompetence shown. Don't get me wrong. But I just think there's too many, if it's not a serious foul or all these little things they've got to consider before they go. And should you re-referee this kind of moment? And that's where I think it's just too messy. It's just too messy and clunky and rubbish.
Hence why I say scrap it now, man. I think
I'm closer than ever to scrap it. For a while I was like, no, we're going to work on this, we're going to get it right. I'm closer than ever to, I'd rather you guys just got it wrong because you got it wrong. Yeah. I'd rather you just in game just saw it differently to me, and we have different opinions.
Because football was always going soft, but they've made it softer now. Like I said with the Pepe headbutt, like that's not a headbutt, but now players know any little contact, go down, roll around, and the likelihood that this man watching this screen hasn't played football before, so we'll look at that as assault and give you the foul. Fernandez did it after the Lokonga challenge yesterday, I believe. Lokonga. He stayed down because Fernandez felt where Lokonga touched him. And when you see the replay from the right angle, most angles it didn't look like Lokonga touched him. But there was one angle that actually shows Lokonga did go high up. And Fernandez knew it was high, stayed down as long as possible. In the end, they didn't review it. But that's what it's given players the advantage to do. Just roll around, wait for the decision. And yes, any team can do this, any player can do this. But as a football fan, who wants to see players going out there looking for these moments to hopefully swindle Stockley Park?
It's difficult because for everything I'm just saying, Vardy dives, the penalty's given, and VAR is the reason it's overturned. and the right decisions come to. So I'm still very torn on all this. Jay said Howell Webb is to be appointed to replace Mike Riley as the head of PGMOL. It ain't getting better, guys. Also hope Ty is good. Yeah, I've not spoken to Ty, but I think he's all good. Jonathan says just use VAR for ball over the line or not, offside or not, handball or not. Only look at fouls for potential reds or pens. All other fouls, leave it.
That's actually a good way to look at it.
Listen, it's
a better way than they're doing that.
That is a much better way. That is a much better way. I mean, immediately. Okay, so what's he got? Ball over the line. Okay, we've got goal line technology. I think he's talking about ball over the line. Like, sometimes if it's gone out for a throw. Sometimes that I've seen a goal, was it last year, Liverpool maybe, they had a goal disallowed because the ball had just gone out for a throw, but they kept it on. I would leave that as it is. If the linesman in the moment hasn't given it, who cares? Like, whatever. So I wouldn't do that. Offside, sure. And handballs, yeah, probably. And potential red cards.
And then if you give the linos the throw-ins and the fouls in their area and no offsides, then I think that would make their job better as well.
Touch of Awesome agrees with me. That's a great idea. Give the teams 2 challenges. The challenge system was used in the NFL and works, says Mr. Lay. Kolkat says Arteta was naive. United haven't lost a game leading a half-time at Old Trafford more than 30 years. Wow.
Yeah.
At 1-1, he should have been more pragmatic. For a moment, I was scared our record would break, to be honest. Pluggy Steel says 3 seasons of this process we should be winning that. Ten Hag not even 6 months and he's beaten Klopp and Arteta. Klopp in his first 6 months Arteta in his first 6 months also beat Pep and Klopp, but yes, Ten Hag seems to have turned things around, doing right. Cockart says continued, if you guys would have managed the game another 10 minutes and went all guns blazing the last 5 minutes, you would not only have 3 points, but you would have broken United's record and made a statement as well. I
agree with that. I think when we went to 1-1, and a couple of United fans are admitting there that they felt their record was, up for grabs, and we opened up, and the rest is history.
There's a few other comments I just want to get into, but I'm struggling.
Wasn't there one underneath the last one?
Yeah, that's what I'm oh, there we go. Sorry, I wasn't going up.
You've got to put this one down.
Oh.
Yeah, there we are.
There we go. I'm being useless.
And Robbie gets onto me for using paper. I'm here teaching people about MacBooks.
You do love paper, don't you?
Yeah, I'm old school, man.
If you were VAR, you'd... Well,
yeah, I draw the line.
Yeah.
You just see a wonky line across.
Yeah.
Offside,
he's
fuck
on.
off.
Yeah, look at that. He's clear.
Give it to him.
JD Bog says VAR should be kept for factual matters only, e.g. goal line technology. Okay. Yeah, that's probably the only factual one, goal line technology, unless, as you mentioned, offside technology evolves in some way. Prascanel says, how about having 2 refs in the game viewing from different angles like in basketball?
That would piss me off as well. I'm tired of one of them. I'd rather go to I'd rather go to none and the board
the
whistles.
Referees or what?
I'd rather Stockley Park just take control of everything. Yeah, no refs, no linesmen. The whistle comes from the loudspeakers. The players can't surround the ref.
Imagine abusing 2 refs at once.
You'll have players looking at the screen like, fuck off. I don't want 2 refs.
It's not a horrible idea.
Well, you want Paul Tierney and fucking who's another one? I don't even know these refs no more. You want 2 Paul Tierneys on the pitch, or Michael Salisbury and Paul Tierney at the same time? Salisbury's the guy that done the Palace Newcastle game, I think. Or was it that or the West Ham? One of them.
Alex says in all USA sports you can hear all the refs reviewing actions which will make it transparent. Think this can be the same in the Premier League. No need to bring VAR for transparency and still make it look like a secret. I like that last sentence. Bringing in VAR for transparency, but you're still kind of very secretively trying to deal with it. Yeah. Listen, I'm very much in favour of being able to hear what the refs are saying and actually hearing what the players are saying. Now, I appreciate that there's going to be some bad language, and over time players will learn and will probably get fined. You're live on TV, your role models, there are young kids watching. You'll probably get fined for certain language or whatever, though I understand it's a heated environment. What I wouldn't mind that, because what you'll get is an understanding from the ref's point of view, what they're being told. You get an understanding of what they're kind of facing throughout the game. Sometimes the yellow card's brandish, and you're like, oh, for what? For just that? Well, you don't know what he said to him as well, and all that stuff. and it gives us context to what they're, why they're giving it.
Yeah. So what's he suggesting? Or what are
That
you
we
suggesting?
can hear them. That we can
Listen,
hear them when they're reviewing things.
I think hearing them would be a welcome addition, but trust me, would be more pissed off hearing them come to the conclusion that we see is a wrong decision. That would piss you off even more. And to be honest, it probably makes a target out of the one that actually made the decision in the end.
Yeah.
So, obviously the way social media is nowadays and whatnot.
That's the thing, and that's why with everything, like, I put the brakes on just slightly, because I understand that these are humans, they're trying to do their best, and we live in such a horribly critical world where I think they get a little, I wouldn't call it lucky, but where it's slightly less, the heat isn't quite as high, is we talk about referees and VAR. It's not like when Arteta faces heat for bad decisions or players or whatever. They're very much a collective, and they're seen as that. We're not sitting here singling out one referee. But I also understand that it's difficult, and yeah, I'd love to ask them how they would like to do it, because I'm not convinced that they're all happy with the way it's used.
I'd love Pierluigi Collina to come in and just sort the whole thing out. I'd put him in charge of it. Forget Howard Webb. I'll put Collina in charge of it. What's he doing nowadays?
I don't know. I've got no idea.
But
probably enjoying a happy retirement.
Maybe
or
it's time to start looking
or...
at European referees and referees from across the world.
So this is one of the solutions that I'm really keen on. Is I don't know why, and I don't want to go into it too much because I'm unbelievably under researched in this field, but I did have a little look at the list of refs, and we don't have referees from outside England, I don't believe, or the United Kingdom, I'm not sure, and I do wonder about that. Why can we not? Why can leagues not be trading some of the best referees in the world? And you're employing some of the best. There's one guy out in Spain who's brilliant or whatever, and he wants to referee in the Premier League. Is that not something? Would aspiring young referees not want that as well? I want to referee in the Premier League. I want to referee in a Barcelona El Clasico.
Yeah.
I want to referee in El Clasico. I don't know, that adds a little bit to it, doesn't it? I don't know why we have to stick sort of
it's not working, is it,
for our referees?
So maybe it is something to look at, because the standard of referees in certain regions and areas in the world is much better than the standard here, as evidence from some of the tournaments internationally we've seen where English refs haven't cut the mustard enough to even make an appearance.
There were some tournaments. There was one definitely where no English refs went.
And that was before VAR, so that already set the precedent. And then you bring in video technology and give it to the same clowns. Well, what do you expect? If FIFA are saying they're not good enough for this tournament, why is the Premier League, accepting it? Because it's more work for them. It's more work that doesn't involve extra finances for them. And if it doesn't involve extra money for the league, they don't give a shit. So they just leave it to it. I bet you if you tell them that if you fix this, you're going to get an extra bit of revenue every month, they'd be soon working out solutions to get it done. But at this moment in time, it doesn't benefit them financially to fix the issue. It probably creates more drama for them. That probably adds to their finances. So yeah, I don't think there's no desire for them to really want to fix it, and that desire needs to come first.
Benito agrees with you. I really think they need to bring a rest from different leagues. Malachi says, love what you guys do, keep it up. Can we get a Big Six debate with James?
Yeah, next time.
Thank you very
one
much.
day when I'm not in, I'll shout James.
Imagine, I mean,
Are you gonna do it tonight?
I'll fold under the pressure.
You gonna do it tonight?
I'll leave you to
I could do with a sub-in tonight.
I will fold under the pressure. Arsenal looking quite good, are they? No, you're right. Yeah, like maybe one day, maybe when I can go in with a bit of chest about Arsenal, then we'll see.
Then yeah.
A. Gill says, great show by the way, check it out tonight. A. Gill says, why is there no diversity of refs in the UK when there is lots of players too proud to improve? Shreth asks, refs need to be held accountable after every game and penalised if guilty. Why should they be special? Also, it's the same refs. Why? It keeps biases alive. I don't know why they don't do a promotion relegation this year in the Premier League.
Yeah, that's true.
And then the three worst scoring...
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, listen, there's got to be something. In fairness to them, I do think they are scored every game. Like they are internally, I think they really evaluate themselves.
Yeah, but who are they scored by? Dean and Webb. Fuck me. Who's scoring them? That's what I want to know.
You kill me, man. All right, look, we've more than touched on this topic. I'm going to reiterate this for the final time. This is really, really, really not about that. There's evidence on Twitter, actually, by the way. There's evidence on Twitter from before Arsenal even kicked a ball against Man United. I replied to someone, this was talking about the Jared Bowen incident, and I replied to them saying, I'm going to make sure we do something on officiating and VAR in the Premier League. In the Premier League on AFTV this week. So this has been 2-3 days in the planning that we've been wanting to have this discussion. Obviously, what happened yesterday in the Arsenal game is had an impact in the result in some way, potentially. But, you know, we wanted to talk about it because it's what everyone's talking about. Arsenal are going to be keeping an eye on what their rivals do. Chelsea potentially gained 2 points on the back of a little bit of VAR help, where maybe they lost.
Chelsea's 1-1 right now. The Tottenham game they got done, and the West Ham game they got it back. People say swings and roundabouts, but it's still not fair.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It doesn't. Two wrongs don't make a right and all that. So it's important we discuss it. As we enter the last 10 minutes, let's just quickly talk about everyone else. Two teams that we thought they definitely will be the kind of main challengers to a Premier League title. Liverpool and City both dropped points again. City, look, their draws are what I kind of call semi-forgivable draws. Newcastle, very good side, they pulled it back. And I think Villa, I didn't watch the game, but they might have had a bit of an off day, and Villa obviously fighting to really turn things around. But they're still undefeated, 4 wins, 2 draws. I'm not for 1 second saying that Arsenal are in a title race, even despite this position we find ourselves in right now. But it definitely seems that there's a vulnerability to those two teams that, hey, get your act together. And there might be something to exploit there.
I think it's the most interesting start to the season for a long time.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe
with that.
2015.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head. But in terms of when you look at the league and you look at the game so far, I think Man City, they will find their feet in terms of winning runs, and they'll probably walk away with it. But Liverpool, I've been looking at them last couple of years, and I was premature in my assessment that they would kind of drop off, because they haven't over the last couple of years, but here it is now. They have started the season, definitely drop off from last season, and I just don't see how they're going to turn it around and be that same threat again. I still expect them to finish second, and I still expect them to be comfortably second in the end, but I just don't see them getting anywhere near Manchester City again like they have been the last few years.
Let me address the comment. Mario, he says, Villa had 1 shot on target and they scored. You need to watch the game, James. Mario, what more do you want from me? I told you I didn't watch it. I was in a taxi coming back from the airport with my family. I couldn't watch it. I was into work on the Sunday. I don't know. What do you want from me? I told you I didn't watch it, and I couldn't. All I saw was that they drew, and some people, man. If I'm not saying, that was a tough game for City.
Yeah, you watched the whole night.
Watched the whole game. They missed 19 big chances. Oh, right. Yeah, and by the way, I was listening to it on the radio, and Sunday Villa had a few opportunities towards the end. So listen, you lot,
you can't please everyone.
What's the point even caveating things? What's the point even Oh, I hate it when Arsenal lose.
Yeah, I know.
I really hate it.
The internet's a mess when we lose.
I really hate it when Arsenal lose. I'm so much more. You poke at me and I'm just like, leave me alone. Yeah. Anyway, so there you go, Mario. I hope I've explained it enough. I didn't see it, but they've dropped points in 2 games that they wouldn't have been expected to. That is a talking point. I'm with you. Liverpool, I thought, would find it really, really hard to replace Sadio Mane. Now the injuries are apart. Kanate, Thiago, I think is really important for them. Fabinho, from what I've been hearing from Liverpool fans, hasn't been in great form, and now they're adapting to this new front three, and they've had a striker out for 3 games. None of that's ideal. For me, it's just quite the drop off from quadruple challenges to they look like they're very much in a top 4 race now. Now, I do not write off Jurgen Klopp. I think they're going to get their act together. What were they, 11 points behind Man City last season, and they clawed it back to within a point. So you don't write Klopp off. But I'm with you. Something feels a little less intense about Liverpool compared to previous years.
I think when you look, Arteta said, I keep on saying, in January you need to maximise every window. Liverpool haven't maximised every window. In fact, they've maximised very few windows. In fact, since they've bought Van Dijk and Alisson, what window have they maximised? And this will catch up to you in the end. This will catch up to you, and that's where I feel they're at now.
What was the Thiago window? I think they've had 1 window where I thought, okay, that was good from Liverpool.
Thiago 25 mil. I think Kanate was the year after.
Yeah. And then they got Konate, and then in January they got Diaz. So if you're kind of talking about a season's worth of additions,
was it Jota? The same.
I
year as
think it was
Thiago?
Jota.
Yeah.
Thank you, Turkish.
Yeah, Jota,
And I can
Thiago.
rely on you. I'm just loading them up now to see, because I think they might have done here. Maybe Tsimikas was here.
But to what they are, which was around that time, still now, Premier League potential winners, Champions League potential winners. Getting Jota and 25 million Thiago isn't maximising the window.
I get you. Thiago and Jota, yeah, with Tsimikas. The year before that, Minamino, Van der Berg. Actually, I don't think they re-signed anyone. Adrian, you're right, yeah. And then you look at the window before that, Alisson, Keita, Fabinho, Shaqiri.
American owners, this is what they're on. Trust me, this is why I say, if we make it back to top 4, don't go celebrating and all that. Make sure the pressure's still on, because top 4 is not the destination that we want. Yes, we've missed it for a little while now, but best believe we used to be in top 4, and the Kroenkes never built on that. So let's not run away and lose ourselves. If we do make top 4, we should make top 4. That is not success. We need to build on it. You need to maximise every window.
Yeah, I mean, you can't sit still in this league, and Man City have shown that. Even adding a £100 million Grealish here and there, then they had a Haaland and a Phillips, and they signed Manuel Akanji the other day. I have no idea why.
Yeah, well,
fair enough.
They make some of those signings over the years. Even Ake was just like, why?
Yeah.
People are waiting for the Ake Akanji partnership. That's what people are waiting for.
They get bored, don't they? Just, we've not signed anyone, have we? So
we've got 20 mil spare. Go on, throw that in.
Yeah, well, they've been making profits, I think. So
very in terms of net spend for Man City this window, mad.
Yeah, it's looked good for them. Not sure what to touch on. Spurs did their thing. I don't really want to enjoy it too much.
There's not much to talk about there. The one frustrating thing about them is they're winning games and not playing well. So if it does click, and
they're good against Fulham again. Mario, I'm telling you now, I didn't watch the game, so Mario knows, because he's worried that I'm commenting with him. But a brief look, they did seem to have 26 shots on goal. And or whatever. But maybe as if Fulham caused any problems, I don't know.
I guess our game was tighter than theirs.
Fine.
Our game was tighter than theirs.
Mitrovic is proving a player.
Yeah. Well, Mitrovic has always been a player. It's just, is he a player for the Premier League? We saw what he done in Championship
Looks like
before,
at the moment. Yeah.
And now with the record-breaking year, a bit more experienced, he's come back into the league a bit more ready.
We're speaking of Spurs, they go to City, so obviously hoping for a mauling there, but they just don't seem the kind of side that take these maulings from the top 2 or whatever.
I'm not having it, man. Tottenham have to lose this weekend, man. They can't keep on beating City. What the fuck is this?
It's ridiculous.
It's annoying me.
But for a few years now, they've had City's number. Not in every game, obviously.
Same way.
They lose the Carabao Cup final, sure. But
same way United beat us yesterday is the same way Tottenham beat City. You know, let's see if Pep's kind of worked it out. But Haaland's just something else, man. Haaland's just something else. And it's Man City, Tottenham this week, Chelsea, Liverpool the week after. So
I was describing Haaland to my friend the other day as, when you're watching under 12s, but there's that kid who's grown up a bit earlier and he looks like 15, 16. Yeah. And trust me, I've played with a few. And the tactic was always put them up front because they're just going to power through everyone. At university, we played, it was a pretty competitive league. I mean, they were good players. And I would regularly we had a guy, I just put him up front because he was faster, stronger than everyone else. And the amount of times I got the ball, and I love my passing on the ground football. Like when I'm watching Arsenal, that's what I enjoy, blah, blah, blah. No, hoof it, get this ball over the top to this guy. Yeah. And Erling Haaland, just that guy, that hat-trick he scored the other day when he kind of had someone on his back and he went, hey, you want to jump on? That's cool. Yeah, I'll take a touch and I'll bury it. I just think he's just a cheat code. He's just an absolute cheat code.
His movement and his reading of the game is mad. I see a stat the other day. Since the start of last season, Sterling's top of goals in the 6-yard box. I think he's got 8. Haaland's second with 6. This is since the start of last season. Haaland's been here for 6 games.
I know.
And it's that. And don't get twisted. It's not. He's not just let's say an Inzaghi who's a poacher in the box and gets. He can also bury them. He can also finish very well. You give him a little opportunity in and around outside the box, he will have a good effort on goal. So there's much more to come from Haaland, much more. He's going to break records. He'll break Salah's record. If he stays long enough, he has potential to break Shearer's, but I think he'll be off to Spain sooner or later. I think he's building his path.
Sure.
Dortmund over United, next up Man City. eventually these players all want to do Real or Barca in the end.
Rizvan says, Turkish spot on, it's all about the revenue. He's talking about the referee stuff there. Gideus with a super chat, thank you very much. Kolkata says, your problem are your owners, just like United and even Liverpool. Imagine Liverpool having their best seasons in ages and only winning one Premier League and one Champions League, while Arsenal and United are drenched in mediocrity. Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those, I take a little bit of issue with the whole Klopp's only won one Premier League, one Champions League. I kind of get where it comes from, but I'm also like, what this guy's done at Liverpool is absolutely unbelievable. But I kind of get the wider point about going again and again and again.
You have to.
Yeah. DJ Brito says, we have foreign personnel in all aspects of football, including ownership and most, if not all leagues in the world. Why not officiating? Could someone explain why? So,
can't, and you know that. That's why you said it. So, you know, that pretty much sums it up.
And we've got this as well that I don't think came in, and I don't think I was able to read it. It was, Kolkata says, continued, American owners don't, this is your comment, Kolkata says, American owners don't understand football, it's all business. Glazers spent only after we started protests that to our own money, they've invested nil. Hashtag Glaze out. Okay, Kolkata, clearly a Man United fan, is not happy. Look, I don't want to comment on, let's say, you know, what owners know about football or don't know. I just think ultimately put the right people in place and get the most out of your investment and try and make that, if you see it as business, you know, whatever owner, wherever you're from, whatever it is, give it the best tools and resources to thrive as much as it can.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah. All right, guys, we're going to leave it there. Look, a lot of this discussion's been around VAR and officiating. I think it was important we touch on it. I think it's also important we try and offer solutions, which I invite all of you guys in the comment section to be genuinely as serious as you can. Offer us solutions. Offer the Premier League, the PGMOL, who I'm sure are not going through the AFTV comment section for their, you know, inspiration, but offer ideas. What and actually, if you could just change one thing, you know, well, okay, it's not going to be perfect, but if we can just remove that thing, then we might clear up a lot of problems. If we can just tweak this one thing, we'll feel a lot better. What is it for you guys? I've put forward my challenge system. I think Turkish at the point you just want to get rid of it, and if that's your solution, that's fine.
Roy Keane or get rid.
Roy Keane running it or get rid of all of it. That's Turkish's
Give
solution.
Roy Keane and Tony Adams a job. Imagine those two. You wouldn't get none of those soft fouls anymore.
Yeah, probably. You probably wouldn't get any red cards.
You probably wouldn't. Probably wouldn't. Jack would be thankful for it.
Yeah, Jack is thinking superb.
For once, Turkish is right. That's what Jack is thinking. Turkish is right.
Yeah, I always need something that we had on the same wavelength. All right, guys, we'll leave it there.
Before we do leave, though, congratulations to Man United on winning their 21st Premier League title. Oh, news just in? Nah, you didn't win fuck all. Still fifth. It's all good. Have a good night, people. Love for the love. Hit the like button on the way out, and we'll be back.
I just wanted a peaceful stream.
Tomorrow. Actually, Big 6 tonight, 9 p.m. Be there.
I wanted a peaceful stream.